Good morning, everyone. My name is Emily Quarles-Mowrer, and I am a lay speaker here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Pottstown. And I would like to welcome you all on this chancy weather Sunday morning. This morning, we are once again carving out spaces in our own homes to make a sacred space. And we are carving out spaces in our hearts to make room for one another. We're once again reminded of the blessings of technology that allow us to be together in spirit when we are apart in body. And we are thankful to Rick Dusky for wrangling all this technology for us. This morning we'll have music played by the lovely Carly Shell, and we'll get ready to enjoy. For over 50 years, the UUFP has been a liberal religious voice in the Pottstown area. As UUs, we believe that reason and wonder can coexist, that we can honor the teachings of the people who came before us, even as we explore farther out into the future with things they never could have imagined. We believe no one is outside the circle of justice and compassion. We hope that your heart and your spirit and your mind are refreshed as we once again commit ourselves to our 7 guiding principles. We come together every Sunday morning because we share a promise to support one another on our spiritual journeys. Our services are different every week, but the loving kindness we offer one another in this community is always the same. So whoever you are, wherever you are from, whomever you love, we are glad you chose to come see us today. We light our chalice this morning in honor of the animals that share our home, this beautiful marble, planet Earth. The words that we'll think about this morning are by Florence Kaplow. We light this chalice in honor of the animal realm, furred and hoofed, 2-legged, 4-legged, many-legged, fanged and clawed, gentle and fierce, wild and tame. May we remember that all animals are our relatives, worthy of our care and our respect. And now we have a moment for announcements. If anyone has an announcement that they'd like to share, please unmute and share with the company.
I have an announcement. Hi, I'm Linda. A couple weeks ago, sometime in August, I forget the exact date, Judith and I went to visit Dorothea. And in talking with her daughter, we found out that Dorothea is going to be 100 in September. So I had asked Erica if she would make a card because she had mentioned that she would do this before. And so Erica has made a card. And of course, we're not here at the fellowship for everyone to sign it. So hopefully we will have a Sunday where everyone can sign it, but if not, I'll just sign, I'll write a message and sign it from everybody. But I'm hoping that we can get together to do that. Also, if anyone has visited her, please let me know. And that way we can have an idea of how many people are visiting, just so that we can keep up contact with her because she is excited about visits. So, and I had all the information of how to get there and where she's located and all that. And also because her daughter wants to know when someone is visiting so that she can relate to a conversation that her mother might be having. Thank you.
I have an announcement, and that is that in Chester County, we have a young man who created his own maps for redistricting House and Senate districts. And he won the Fair Districts PA contest along with some others. And he is showing his maps on Tuesday to the community, so that we can see what some mappers are thinking would be a good idea for House and Senate maps. And we can also query him about his choices, why he would draw lines like that. I, for one, have some questions about some areas of the county that I think are not sufficiently considered. But the link to that meeting, which should be interesting, even if you don't speak or have never really thought about this in the past, this is going to be visually and intellectually interesting. And I think you'll enjoy it. You can register for this meeting by going to fairdistrictspa.com and looking for the events tab, and you will see Speak Out for Fair Districts or something like that for Chester County. And it should be Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And I believe it's only 1 hour, so it's not a huge time commitment, and it's going to be one of the more interesting ones, I think. Thank you.
I have an announcement, and this has to do with the giant cards. I'm going to be managing the giant cards a little differently to make it easier for Joy and Chris, our treasurer, to kind of make sure we're balancing out. So at the beginning of each month, I will be placing an order, and I'm going to use standing orders rather than reach out to people. I've got a number of you have ordered the same amount of cards every time I've placed an order. If that's still good for you for a month, let me know. If you want to become part of a standing order, how much do you want for the month? Because that way the check will be written at the beginning of the month, and then all the reimbursements for the giant cards should be in by the end of the month. So it should balance out. The other thing is I'm not going to be purchasing, extra. I usually had a couple of extra on hand. And that just caused more problems. So in order to try to keep our books balanced and our treasurer sane, this is going to be the new way. So for those who I usually place orders for, if that is good for you for a month, you don't need to reach out to me. I'll let you know when the cards are in. If you want more or less, let me know. And if you want to get on that standing order list, let me know also. So thank you.
I have an announcement. It's more of a save the date type of thing. The Building and Grounds Committee, I guess, is having a cleanup party the day before we are to reopen, which is September 11th. So it's looking a little shabby around the front. And I think there's probably going to be a lot of things to do inside just to prepare. So anyway, it's going to be from 9 to 12 the Saturday before September 12th with the in-gathering service.
All right, that looks like everybody. Sorry, I was just writing that down in my calendar so I would have it. And now if Carly would play for us. Oh, did I skip something? No, I did not. Now if Carly would play for us, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. It's hymn number 29 in Singing the Living Tradition, which is our gray hymnal. Notice I pulled out the second verse, which is the one that seems to talk so much about the beautiful planet that we live on. For our opening words this morning, we have a selection by Maureen Killoran called Blessed Are All Living Things. For the blessings of animal companions, we give thanks. For the beautiful ones whose fur is silky and whose tails are long, whose feathers are brilliant or whose voices are splendid, we give thanks. For the frantic ones, the runts and the hungry who run for a food bowl, or pat as though this life's last possible gift, we give thanks. For the obnoxious ones, the heads that butt against us as we're trying to sleep, the bodies that refuse to learn discretion as they make digestive gifts, we give thanks. For those who bark and purr and growl and mew, for all who squeak or squawk or snarl or hiss, we give thanks. For the animals unknown to us, those whose niche in life is fragile, whose lives are insecure, for all who care for them and wish them well, we give thanks. Blessed are the animals. Blessed are the creatures who live with us and need our care. Blessed are the mammals and the reptiles and the birds who teach us we are not alone. Blessed are all the living things from whom we learn to love. And now is the time in our service where we remind ourselves that we need one another to survive. Bills don't stop even when we can't make it to our beautiful fellowship. If you have the chance to donate, if you have the resources to donate, please consider supporting us. You are welcome here, no matter what your gifts are that you can give. Thank you so much for your generosity. Now Carly will play a musical reflection on generosity. And now is the time where we have a chance to connect with one another on a personal level. If you're weighed down with sorrow this morning, or if you're lifted up with joy, please take this time to share with us what you feel.
Did I unmute? I did.
We have concern. Bitey, our cat, has not shown up since yesterday, so he may have bitten the dust, so we're worried about him.
He's a wanderer.
Hi, this is John. If any of you have access to Facebook, I've been occasionally, let me make sure I'm in the right place here. I've occasionally been seeing feeds from a group called the Dodo. If any of you have experienced that, fascinating videos of amazing animal experiences, animal relationships, tigers and, humans playing with each other. The most recent one I saw was a bear, a leopard, and a tiger that were all raised from the time that they were cubs living in harmony. And it goes on and on. So if you ever experience that, since the service today is concerned with our animal brethren on earth, you may find it very, very interesting.
Hi, I'm Linda, and this is also Alan. We were in Florida visiting our daughter Sarah because she had heart ablation for AFib, and everything went well. But Sarah's had an altered rhythm. She was born with it, and when they put her under anesthesia, that rhythm went silent, so they couldn't do anything about that. So even though the doctor said he thinks everything is going to be okay, they have to wait a couple months to see, because it takes several months for the vessels to heal that they were working with, to see if there's something else they need to do, because that one rhythm went quiet, is how they put it. But she seems okay, and she was tired at first, but towards the end of the week, she was feeling pretty good. And then we also got to meet her new boyfriend, which is exciting, so that she has a life besides work. And she also adopted a dog. So, I mean, her life is picking up, and she's having a lot of fun with it. And we were glad to be able to see all that. Thank you.
Well, this morning we are thankful for modern medicine and for being able to connect with one another. We're thankful for the ways that our technology can let us see things that would normally be hidden, like relationships between different species. At the same time, we are also sad and scared for animals that are far from home and are missing their people. If you have a joy or a sorrow that is lodged in your heart, or that you can't bring out this morning, we are with you here as well. Let's have a moment of silence for all the joys and sorrows that are unspoken. Now, if Carly would play for us, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. The music is actually called Brother James Eyre, and it reminds me of that show, All Creatures Great and Small, with James Herriot. For reading this morning, Lisa Jokiel had a story that she wanted to share about an animal that touched her life. She sent this to me in an email, and I'm sharing it with you now. She writes, on one of my last visits to the late Gladys Smith, I was touched by her interaction with her aptly named, affectionate little cat, Dusty. He was a light brownish-orangish color all over. Gladys was in an upright position in her hospital bed, with an additional pillow behind her head and back. She and I were deep in conversation when Dusty entered the room. He hopped up on the bed and then went to the pillow behind her head. He positioned himself on the highest point of the pillow, just above the center of Gladys's head, facing forward. And then he put both of his front paws gently on top of her head and just stayed there for a long time, as if to say, this is my Gladys, and I love her. Gladys said, oh, he always does that. It was a scene I shall never forget. Now if Carly would play All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. This one reminds me of my mom because she loved the planet. And now we have reached the time in our service where we each have a chance to share an animal that has blessed our life and share with one another the stories and the memories and the thoughts that we have. These animals can be companions, they can be wild animals that we've seen in passing, they can be animals that we've never met but that we've read about. Any sort of animal that has been a blessing in your life. So if you'd like to share, please unmute and share your story.
I thought there would be a whole bunch, but
Well,
It always
I
starts
have-
off slow.
huh?
It always starts off slow.
It always starts off slow. Okay. Well, I'm going to do about 2 kitties. I've had basically, how many pets have I had? I've had three cats and a turtle, and the turtle ran away. It's a snapping turtle given to me at the age of about 2.5 by Jim Bond. And let's face it, a snapping turtle for a 2.5-year-old is not appropriate. So I think they helped it run away. If I could share my screen, give me permission to share. Okay. Share screen. All right. Share. All right. We had, can you see it?
Oh,
All right, this is little Mary with baby Humphrey. He was my second cat. The first cat was Jake, and Jake was mean. And my mom wanted to get rid of him because he would literally attack you as you came around the corner. And the day after he died, she saw an ad in the paper saying kittens, free kittens. And this one little kitten ran down the driveway and rubbed her leg. And she said, I'll take that one. And that was Humphrey. And he disappeared about less than a week after we had him. He was gone for 3 days. And my mom was trying to figure out, oh gosh, how am I going to tell this child her cat has disappeared? But he was just exploring. I could spend the entire hour because he was an amazing cat that I won't, because they're probably only interesting to me. But this little kitten grew up into that big cat. That's both of us grown up later. He ended up being 17 pounds, quite the hunter. I think I'm going to give you 2 stories that I just think are fascinating. One, my mother, I don't remember it. My mother saw it, but we lived in one house, and then the next house over was the wrestling coach and their kids, the bullies of the neighborhood. And on the other side of that was Major. And Major was a black Tom. And the 2 of them did not get along. They got in a big fight. And there was actually, you can't see it in the picture, but he had a scratch on his right from his nose up to the corner of his eye where Major had gotten him. And after that, they just decided they would keep shy away from each other. Well, the wrestling coach moved, and the cat that they had was a female, and she just had a litter. And when they left, they literally abandoned her in the coal chute in the basement with her litter of kittens. The father of the kittens was another cat that lived up the hill about a block away. And he came in because sometimes the fathers will try to kill their kittens. These 2 cats teamed up to patrol the yard. Mom said they walked around the yard together and made sure that he didn't come in to attack the kittens. They caught whatever they could catch out in the back. This was pretty rural. It was North Carolina. And they fed her mice, toads, whatever they could catch, moles. And then my dad was able to get down in there and get the cat out. And we found somebody to take them. This went on for about 2 days, where these 2 enemy cats took care of each other, took care of the mother cat. And then the other one was the day that we were moving out of the house. Well, a couple of days before moving out of the house, my mom was washing dishes and something flew by her head. And she said to Dad, Howard, there's a bat in this house. And he goes, how much did you drink? And he didn't believe there was a bat. Well, the day we were moving, the whole house was open, the attic was open. The next thing you know, this cat walks into the kitchen and he's got a bat in its mouth with the wings flapping. And mom called Dad and said, see, I told you. And the cat is standing there. I caught it. I don't know what to do with it. Help, So Dad picked him up, took him outside. Cat with the bat in its mouth, took him outside and took the bat out of his mouth. The cat was relieved and he got a reward for catching the bat. But he died when he was 10. He was actually shot. Somebody did that. And then this other one, about 2 months after Humphrey died, some friend of mother's, and we got kittens. And this is Cleo. And most patient cat in the world, my mother called her. She lives to be 17. And she went to Mexico with me, where she got chased by chickens and sheep and had to live with 2 dogs. She disappeared at that point one time for 2.5 weeks. And she had no claws, and she came back. She had one hell of a story to tell, and I don't know what it was. But when she was a kitten, she and my father didn't like each other. She bit him, and he wanted to get rid of her. But after I flew her back from Mexico, from the airport in Dallas, she stayed with them for a few months, and they became friends. And when he was dying of cancer, I would take her over. I just took her over there, and she kept him company. And she would sleep with him on the couch and kept him company. And he said he just loved to have her around. So anyway, that was a little long, but those are my two kitties.
Okay, I have a story. I don't know if you can see this very well. This is Skipper. Let me see. Skipper has wheels on his back legs. And he was a rescue dog that I got up in Berks County somewhere. And I went there because they had like 300 dogs that needed to be adopted. And at that time, Chester County had one. So I thought they had a bigger need. And he was a lab mix that they knew nothing about. And because they just found him on the streets, and he was around 5. And we had him till he was around 11 or 12. And he was just a neat dog, very smart. And every once in a blue moon, like 3 times, he would howl, and he would have this deep howl. And the neighbors came out to hear who's howling, because they weren't used to hearing dogs howl in our neighborhood. But he developed ALS, and I thought the vet was wrong. I thought, oh, she just means that he's got like a radiculopathy, like his nerves are, a disc is pressing on his nerve and making his back legs weak. But when I got home and thought about it and read about it, it's like, oh my God, dogs actually get ALS. And so Skipper, his back legs would just kind of dance around when he was standing, because he couldn't really tell where they were. And Lynn Bassett's dog had radiculopathy, which is that pressure on the nerve. And she had purchased those wheels for her dog. So I asked if I could borrow them because her dog wasn't using them. So Skipper used them a couple times, but since his system was a progressive one, that made him too exhausted. So he really couldn't use those wheels. And eventually we had to have him put down because it was progressing. But he was just a neat dog and a fun spark in our lives for a while. And I just wanted to share that.
I can certainly go. I don't have pictures. God, my husband and I have had probably over a dozen cats through the course of our marriage, and I had them as children too. So we could be here forever if I were to go over all of them. But I think the thing that I learned from each and every one of them something. But I think of 2 of them, Abigail and Spencer, what I really learned was grace through aging and illness. Abigail she lived to be about 18, but she went blind. I think she was blind for like the last 2.5 years of her life. And what I found amazing was she adapted so well to blindness, better than I would. She was able to, you would see her because the direction was, oh, you need to isolate her, right? So she can't hurt herself. She knew when she was coming to the steps, because she'd be walking, she'd slow down and you could see her sort of hunch like this, and then she'd feel the drop. Then she'd go down the steps and she knew where things were. And I was just always so impressed with and I use the word grace, that sort of like, well, this is what's going on in my life and I'm going to move forward with it. And then Spencer was a cat our neighbor gave us. He was a stray. And within the course of 9 months, that cat aged 17 years, because originally they thought he was only 3 years old. Through a course of illnesses that we ended up taking him down to Metro, each time he gained about 5 years. They're like, no, this cat is, 5 years older. He became 8, then he became 13. When we finally got to the cardiologist 9 months later, she's like, no, this is a senior cat. And a lot of it explained it to me. And if you've ever had an animal with heart failure, there's just as many pills that you give animals that you give humans in heart failure. And this cat, and he was deaf too. He had epilepsy. He had all this stuff, and we figured he got dumped, that somebody just couldn't handle all the medical things going on. But again, the gratitude, he was just happy. And because he was deaf, he would like come around. I'd be sitting on the sofa watching TV, and he'd be all of a sudden like, oh, you're here. And he'd jump up, and all he wanted was just to be, petted. And, pilling him was not a problem. He put up with it. And it just, up until the day he actually walked into the carrier when we had to take him to the vet to put him down, he just And so through all of them, it was grace through aging and illness that I wish I could only have half of as I continue to age and get sick. So that's my story.
So I'll go next. Our first dog, well, first of all, I grew up without too many pets because my dad was allergic to everything with fur. So but Rick was the pet person. And so when we first got married, we decided to get a dog, and we were living down in Virginia, and we visited the animal shelter down there. And it was before kids, so we could kind of take our time. We didn't have a kid, tugging at our elbow saying, "Oh, I want all of them." And, we visited a couple of times, and trying to pick the right dog.
The right
and
one.
The right
Yeah.
one. So one morning we set out on a Saturday morning and drove down there, and we picked up coffee along the way, and at
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven or something, and I ended up getting a dribble cup, and so every time I took a sip, all the coffee went down the front of my t-shirt. And when we got there, there was this one dog that was like seemed like the right age and everything, and we they took her out into a small yard for us to visit with her. And she ended up coming right up to me and licking my chest to get at the coffee, or at least that we thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
And so we were like, this dog loves coffee. It's the perfect dog for us. And so that was how we chose her, or she chose us. I don't know, but we called her Tumble Puppy because she would when you go to greet her, she would tumble on her tummy, and put her feet up and want to get a tummy rub right away. And she was a great dog, and she lived until for like 14 or so, and
Yeah,
she ended
about
up
that.
with bone cancer, which was very sad. And but she she was a great dog, almost a person. And I do have a picture here. That's Rick back when he didn't have gray hair, and our Tumble Puppy. So that's the end of my story.
So I have a dog I'd like to talk about, of course. This is Miranda. So, and I will try to share a picture, but I will try it once. And if it doesn't work, I'm walking away from the attempt. So here we go. I think I share this screen. Now, share. Got it?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. So this is Spencer. He was our second Bernese Mountain Dog. He's not the one I'm going to talk about, but I'm in the wrong computer for that. I don't have a picture on this computer. So this is Spencer, who looked remarkably like Lucky, who was our first Bernese Mountain Dog. So what I've always been impressed with is how animals tend us, how they take care of us if they're part of our family. And indeed, Gary and I have always mostly had herding dogs, not hurting, but herding, working dogs who tend flocks of sheep or cattle. A Bernese Mountain Dog, Berners were bred to tend cows, dairy animals, and children. So they were really good at tending. When we had our first Berner, I was diagnosed with cancer and was going through some pretty tough chemo. And I didn't feel good. I was getting several, sort of an admixture of chemos. So I, really didn't feel good. And so in the mornings, Gary would leave for work and I would be in bed and he would say goodbye. And when he did that, he would bring Lucky in. Lucky was so sensitive to me that he would do what's called the burner bump. Burners are herders, but they don't run around and try to gather. They're drovers. Excuse me. So they push with their shoulders. They push the cows to get them to go where they want them to go. So Lucky would come into the bedroom, and some days I would feel kind of okay, but other days I didn't want to peel myself off of the mattress. So Lucky would come into the bedroom and just do a very gentle bump on the bed, just touch it. And if I didn't respond, he would just plop down beside me and stay there for the day. And if I did respond, looked like I was maybe going to get up, he would leap so gracefully. He would just leap from that spot right up over me to the other side of the bed and cross his paws, lie down and cross his paws and look at me and pant and say, so what are we going to do today, Mom? And I just was so touched and comforted by his awareness of the need of another being. And that was Lucky, and all of our burners were like that. So that's my story about a dog tending a human being.
Hi guys, it's Ruby. Can you hear me? Oh, wait, let's try again. Can
Oh,
you?
I have to. Do I
We
have
got you now.
Okay. Can you see me? I'm
Yes.
on a Kindle. I can't tell. I'm screen limited. Okay. So I have two stories. One, so I had a cat growing up. His name was Squeaky, and I named him when I was in 6th grade. Not the best name, but he did squeak. And when I met Chris, he had two cats, Norman and Chester. Oh, now I can see myself. Norman was really big and black and white and was raised by a girl who had to give him up when she moved into a new apartment. And Chester was a little black kitten who was a ball of fur and nails and teeth and claws. And Chris's sister's boyfriend found him in a bag on the railroad tracks. And it was the Chesapeake, Ohio Railroad. So his name was Chester. So we've had 3 cats in our lives in the past, and Chester and Norman lived to be 17 or 18, and both got very sick at the end. So every year when we put up our Christmas tree, we have ornaments that have all the pets on them. We have a little Hallmark ornament that's an orange tabby that we call Squeaky that I had given to my mom when I was in high school. And we have one of those frame ornaments that has a picture of a cat on each side, Chester on one, Norman on the other. And Maddie and Sam love putting those on the tree. And they've actually developed relationships with our past pets because they talk to them as they're putting them on the tree, and they've heard the stories. And Maddie will be like, now, Chester, I remember when you lived with Daddy and you climbed the Christmas tree and you knocked it down. Don't do that anymore. Be a good kitty. And it's so cute that I feel like my kids have relationships with these pets that they never even really knew, but they know through us. So I think that's sweet. And then my other story is, most of you probably already know this, but so we have 2 pigs now, Logan and Honey. And Logan was a rescue and he's about 3 years old. I'm looking for the photo. So I was talking to Emily, and it turns out that she started working at a rescue, volunteering there about 3 years ago. And there was a pig there that had just had piglets, and they were a week old. And she actually took care of my Logan when he was a week old. And he was so little, she could hold him in her hand. And now, if that's not a coincidence, I don't know what is. And I'm not going to try to screen share with the Kindle, but she did send me a picture. Can you guys see that? So that's Logan's mom. And if you can see, there's 3 piglets there. Can you guys see that? There they are. Those aren't the mom's legs. Those are actually piglets. And whoops, wait a second, which way is which? There we go. And the one in the middle is actually my Logan. I'm pretty sure I figured out which one he is. So if that's not a crazy coincidence, I don't know what is. It's a small world. So
That's cool.
those are my stories.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
So Emily, thank you again very much for looking up those pictures on your computer and sending them. It made me really happy.
Anytime, glad I had him.
When are we going to meet Honey?
Oh, I don't know. Well, probably not today because we have a scout event pretty soon. And apparently other families are also double and triple booked because I'm driving 4 kids there and they're out playing really hard now. And we need to leave around 11:30. So if for some reason we start coffee hour early, maybe I'll show you a picture. I can show you a picture now.
Yeah,
if
you
we
can
have
send me a picture. You can text me a picture.
Oh, I thought you were on the text distribution that I've been sending pictures to. Let me see.
Oh, I haven't gotten Honey yet.
No? Okay, let me see. There we go. Here's a picture of the 2 of them. Can you see?
Yep.
Oh, there's Honey right there.
Ooh.
The pink one. There's Logan behind him. Double belly rub time. I'm going to stop my video and go make sure that the kids are okay. They're out in the yard playing. All 4 of them. And only one of them is mine.
So this is John. I have all kinds of stories and I'll make it quick and brief, each of the stories. So I grew up in a household where my mother thought pets were awful and dirty, and I never had any pets at any time in my growing up years. And it wasn't until I met my wife that pets entered my life. So a couple of quick stories. My daughter still has, but we had a Welsh Corgi when she was living with us. One of the people she knew called it a hovercraft, because if you watch a Corgi run, you can't see the legs because they're tiny and the dog just seems to coast over the earth. And they are also, again, herding dogs, small as they are, and they herd by nipping. And like many dogs, they do what they're trained to do. So if you're walking along, you're too slow, you get a little nip in the back of your Achilles saying, move on, move on. That's one. The second, we were dog sitting for my sister-in-law many years ago, and she had a beautiful, beautiful hunting dog. And I took the dog for a walk around what is called French Creek Park at Hopewell Lake. Foolish me, I took the dog off the leash for part of the walk thinking, well, the dog needs some freedom. This is a hunting dog, and in the middle of the pond were ducks. So the dog said, oh, I'm going to head into the water. And Shamrock, Irish setter, in she went. And so I had a very soggy dog. Unfortunately, I had a quilt in my car to put in the back seat. So Shamrock and I went home, soggy dog and all. The third thing is that we have cats. Cats are our major pets, have been for decades. And so sitting in front of me, and this is typical, if you have cats, it's so cool because what they do as creatures, they understand the hardest part for them to clean is around their ears and right in the very top of their head. Their paws try to do a good job when they lick them, but it's obviously not adequate. So one of the first things that cats will do if they're friendly is to lick each other's ears and each other's heads. because they realize somehow instinctively that's something which I can't do really well. And I'm going to help my friend do it. And last but not least, we've always had Siamese, at least one Siamese. We call her the queen of the house. So we had Eleanor for about 20 some odd years, followed by Mercedes for 20 some odd years. Unfortunately, Stella, who was a Oriental short hair, which is basically a black or solid colored Siamese, succumbed to a variety of illnesses. And somehow they all latch on to me. So my current cat is Eve, and I'm not sure, I'm going to turn my phone around, but hopefully you can see the two cats there. You should be able to see the Siamese to your left, who is Eve, and then her friend there is Mama Willow. Mama Willow came to us as a rescue, but we didn't know that she was also pregnant, and then proceeded to deliver 3 babies in my wife's lap. Unfortunately, one survived, who is her daughter, Agatha, and that ends my series of animal stories.
I just wanted to show a picture. This is a picture that Lisa was talking about with Gladys and her cat on her head. So let me see if we can, I don't know if there we go. So there's the cat. This was before she was ill. And I was over there visiting her. And the cat was doing its thing on top of Gladys's head.
So we've heard some awesome stories. It's amazing all the ways that the pets and animals touch our lives. So thought we would do our closing hymn since it's almost time. It's Blue Boat Home, which is it's a perennial favorite, and it's again about planet Earth. We extinguish this chalice flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside of our walls, out into the world that we live in until we are together again. And our closing words are by George G. Brooks. May the love that gives to life its beauty, the reverence that gives to life its sacredness, and the purpose that gives to life its deep significance be strong within each of us and lead us into ever deepening relationships with all of life. Amen. Blessed be. Shalom. Salam. And blessings to all the animals that touch our lives. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please stay for Zoom Coffee Hour.